Balloons, 1.5 million of them, caused quite a stir in Cleveland yesterday. It was part of a fundraiser for the United Way.
In the mid-1980s, Cleveland, Ohio was on a mission to reinvent itself. The city was eager to boost its image and bring a bit of fun and creativity to its struggling downtown. The United Way of Cleveland, a charity organization, dreamed up an ambitious stunt to break the world record for the most balloons released simultaneously. On September 27, 1986, the city gathered in anticipation. 2,500 volunteers worked for hours to fill the balloons, which were then corralled under a giant net, roughly the size of a city block. Additional balloons were sold to the public at the reasonable price of 2 balloons for $1. The weather was cloudy, and storm warnings loomed, but the organizers pressed forward.
Balloons are going to be inflated by about noon, so if it starts to look like rain, we might just pull a number and release them early. That's something I've got to discuss with United Way.
Eventually, with the storm closing in, it was decided that the balloons would be released early. 100,000 people watched as 1.4 million balloons were unleashed into the air, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that could be seen for miles. It was breathtaking, it was magical, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Usually, balloons released in the air will rise until they are fully deflated. However, the weather caused the balloons to descend quickly, still partially inflated, creating chaos across the region. Instead of soaring into the atmosphere, the balloons scattered into unexpected places. The balloons blanketed Lake Erie, hampering the Coast Guard's rescue efforts for 2 fishermen who went missing just hours before. Tragically, their bodies were later recovered, and it was believed the balloons hindered the search. The cleanup efforts for the balloons were massive. Balloons clogged waterways, littered parks, and disrupted traffic. The Berkey Lakefront Airport had to shut down its runway for a half hour due to the swarms of balloons. Lawsuits followed, including one from the family of the missing fishermen. The environmental impact lingered for months. Balloonfest '86 was meant to lift Cleveland's spirits, but it became a cautionary tale of ambition unchecked by foresight. Recently, the city of Cleveland has attempted to convince the public that the event was not a disaster, and that the news reporters happened to be very dramatic on the time of the event. In an article titled "Where Truth Ends and Fake News Begins" on Cleveland's 1986 Balloonfest, letter from the editor, they quote the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, stating that if you lose control of your aircraft and find yourself immersed in the middle of a lake, hopefully wearing a life jacket, you won't survive 12 hours in water at 60 to 70 degrees. They believe that this is proof that the fishermen may not have been alive by the time that the Coast Guard set out to find them, and therefore their deaths were not a result of the festival, even going as far as to call the theory ridiculous. Can the Balloon Fest be considered a disaster? Was the money raised for United Way worth the cleanup, crashed vehicles, delayed airports, polluted waters, lawsuits, and decades of negative press for the city? I'll let you decide.